Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we have to talk about crap hitting the fan and you having to get home. Or, possibly you have a bug out location you want to get to. And I think people have this mindset of, I'll just go ahead and bug out and get to this place. Or, I drove an hour away and now I need to get home, and they think it's going to be walk in the park. I mean, as far as the way that people interact with you, maybe walk in the park at this point, because desperation doesn't usually set in at the very beginning. But as this video proceeds, I want you to understand that it is basically a race and you're going to have to be very quick to get home. Now, when I talk about going places and you have like a get home bag, for example, like for us, the biggest place we go to is like we drive a couple hours to go to like martial art tournaments. And even when I do that, I always make sure the gas is filled up in the car once I get there. And so that way I can make it back quick if something does happen. And when we talk about crap hitting the fan, it isn't always a fast thing, but sometimes it is. We've seen this in the past and you have to be ready for this. Now, if something happens, you're looking at, I'm 2 hours away from home by driving, by the way. And if we estimate maybe 60 miles an hour, maybe a little bit faster than that, then you can calculate maybe 120 miles, 140 miles to home. And we have to figure out how are you going to get home? Because, obviously the most logical choice is you will try to get home by your car. And I think for the first day, we're going to be seeing situations where people will be getting home in their cars. And even if the situation that happened was a coronal mass ejection or EMP, 95% of cars will still run afterwards. Now, granted, that other 5% may be blocking thoroughfares, not to mention there's going to be a lot of movement, but you're going to have to try to do it by your car, get home by your car as much as possible, because it has shelter, it can carry your gear, it's less strain on your body, because that's what we'll see in a minute, because when we see trying to get home, it's going to be a big toll. And again, people have this mindset of, I'm going to go ahead and just be able to get home quickly. Now, sitting in traffic, obviously, is going to sip your gas even faster. I mean, it's not anything you want. And not to mention, you may have to take some back roads, or, if streets are clogged and crap hits the fan, drive across people's lawns. Just do whatever you have to do to get home. But there's a rule that I always tell people, and my wife, when she first heard this, she's like, wow, it really works. It's when in doubt, follow the locals out. Because if you go into a neighborhood and you're like, I don't know where I'm at, and you're like, I don't know how to get out of here, follow the cars, because you'll find a lot of locals will go that way and they'll steer in the right direction. But here's what you have to look at. You're going to have to take a thought about, my car eventually is not going to be getting me home. And that's where we have to worry about. If your car doesn't get you home, and instead of a 2-hour drive, it took you 4.5, who cares? You're home in 4.5 hours. But now you ran out of gas. Or maybe there is blockages because of the EMP, or whatever the case may be. And now you're going to have to hoof it. This is where the problems come in. First off, trying to acquire a bicycle or an alternate means of transport, a bike is going to be far better than walking, whatever you can do to get home, because the key is you want to get there pretty quickly. But here's the problem. Let's say, argument's sake, let's say you're only 1 hour's drive from home. Maybe, and we'll say you drove 60 miles an hour, so we're going to say it's just 60 miles. That's all. In our mindset, we think, but we're so used to luxury, an hour's drive. I could get home pretty easy. Even if my car, nobody's cars work, I can walk home from here, piece of cake. Could you walk home from there? Yes, but piece of cake, no. Because in our mindset, because we drive so much, we think that, and we do walk on occasion, that I should be able to do that pretty quickly, but that's not the case at all. Did you know the Roman legions would only walk 20 miles a day? And those are professional soldiers who, that's all they knew was walking. They were used to walking in 20 miles a day. And they would actually set their fortified camps 20 miles away so they'd be able to handle this. If you just drove an hour, that's 60 miles. And you're not a Roman legionnaire, neither am I. And I like to walk, I like to run, I like to do martial arts. And even that, I find I like to do road races with my family, not the running part, but I like walking with them. And I find, wow, even the shape I'm in as far as being able to do, jumping kicks and everything, I think this walking's a little bit harder than I remember, I like to walk. Villages in England were about 25 miles apart. But either way, this is not a situation where you're used to it. Back then, everybody walked. Today, even if you walk per se, you don't walk that long with those shoes, that many miles with a backpack on your back. Maybe you have a get-home bag, or again, maybe you're bugging out to a location. I would guess, more than likely, the average American's going to go about maybe 12 miles a day. That's what I'm guessing. But we're going to go ahead and argue and say 20 miles a day. Maybe you are a Roman legionnaire. Even with 20 miles a day, and you're only 1 hour away by driving, it's still going to take you 3 days to get home. 3 days. And I'll tell you right now, that's what you're going to be looking at, and that's going to be your goal, is try to get wherever you're going to be at, get wherever you're going to go to for 3 days. After that, that's when we start seeing problems, because when we talk about unrest, for the first few days, people will start banding together. Neighborhoods will come out and say, what's going on this first day? Wow, why did we lose all our power? Why is the grid down? The second day, hey, we better start fortifying stuff. Third day, it's not coming back, and we haven't seen any police or National Guard or anything. By the fourth day, I think that's when you're going to start seeing problems, because we're already going to start seeing people running out of food after 3 days. We know people don't prep. And I think most people in their pantry probably have like food for 3 days, but unless they actually have the food they like eating, they start thinking, well, what am I just supposed to eat, my crackers and my instant potatoes? And of course you are, but they don't get that. So once we start seeing past 3 days, that's when we're going to start seeing problems come across. So here we go. You ready? You're going to have to carry what you need for, practically speaking, 3 days. I mean, there's some tricks to this, by the way, I'll show you in a second. But let's go ahead and talk about water for a minute. When you talk about hiking, and these are hikers, guys. This is not just you and I who, I'm assuming some hikers out there, so I'm saying I'm not talking about you. You're looking at, usually, for every 5 miles you go, you're going to need about a liter of water. So in reality, you're going to need about a gallon for every 20 miles you hike. You'll probably need a little bit more, just for other stuff too. But you ready for this? A gallon per 20 miles. And you're not going to carry that gallon, by the way. I don't encourage you in your get-home bag to have 3 gallons of water. That gets really heavy fast. And again, people think in their mindset that, I can carry this heavy back. Well, it's kind of heavy. And yeah, because you're just standing there. Try walking a mile with it. Try 2, 5, 20. Good luck with that. So obviously have some kind of water filtration. Now, I'll talk more about the get-home bag soon and what I put in my get-home bag, because I take one with me wherever I go. Or if you're going to be doing some major bugging out, what you might want to have too. That's coming also. We're really going to be discussing this over the next couple of weeks. Different get-home, different bug-out things and what you want to look for. But water is obviously one of the things, and you're going to have to have some kind of water filter. And I'll be honest with you, if all you want to carry is a life straw and lean over to like a little pond and drink from it, that's up to you. Maybe you actually have a cup and you can put the water in there and suck it. Those life straws, by the way, if you ever used them, they're not like easy like drinking. When you're really thirsty, you like to drink like this, not have to suck heavily through a straw. It just doesn't work that way. And of course, food comes into play too. And since weight is key, I mean, for most of us, even if you carry a 20-pound bag, which you're like, 20 pounds is nothing. For 3 days, that 20 pounds is certainly not nothing. You're going to have to, this is one of those cases where I'm going to say, practically speaking, you're going to want practically nothing but freeze-dried food. Lots of freeze-dried food. It's easy, it's light to carry. It actually gives you a real meal per se. And I would recommend you have enough for possibly up to 6 meals, maybe 3 if you want to just have 1 meal a day. I know some people are like that, maybe 2 a day and go with 6 meals and go with freeze-dried. Now, I always talk about American Reserves. It's one of our sponsors. Right now they're having a sale for the next few days. Get there and you can get a lot of stuff. They're having a buy one, get one sale. Go check it out. It's really good. But either way, have freeze-dried food in your bag for this reason. I mean, I would still recommend you have like energy bars, something in high carb. This is one of those times where, I'm all keto, but yeah, high carbs, because if you're going to be hoofing it and hiking 20 miles a day for 3 days, you're going to need the energy. This is one of those times, by the way, where protein is not the key. Have some protein, sure, but really focus on the carbs. Okay, here we go. Your car's now stopped. And by the way, if it stopped and it's like 7 o'clock p.m. and the sun's going to be going down soon, or if it's already starting to go down, it is certainly best to stay in your car for the night. Get a good night's rest. The best you're going to in your car, by the way. It's not going to be awful or awesome. And head out first thing in the morning. And have you ever slept in your car before? We've gone car camping and, or we'll travel. Well, it's easier to sleep in the car tonight. And when the sun comes up at like 5 in the morning, you're like, oh, it's 5 in the morning. You don't normally want to get up that early, but with the sun in your face, you do. And you'll be ready to head off on your journey, immediately head off. But since you're looking at a few days of hiking, a few hours in your car is not going to make a difference. Try to get a good night's sleep and head out first thing in the morning. Okay, but you have all your stuff. You got your bag. You got some water. You got some food in there. Again, I'll talk about the bag later. Ready, set, go. The race is on. This is how you need to look at it. And this is where the mindset needs to change. Again, even if your car breaks down, you're trying to get home, or if you're like, wow, crap, it's in the fan, it's time to head out to our bug out location an hour away. It's a race. I want you to always have the mindset of it's a race. You need to be quick. You need to go as fast as possible. I'm not saying you need to run it. You need to pace yourself. This is a marathon. You need to pace yourself, and every hour take a break for a couple minutes, or every 2 hours, whatever you feel like you need. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that there's no time for sightseeing. There's no time for, looking around and checking things out and getting sidetracked. It's a race. Right now, people are nice. The first few days of crap hitting the fan, people will help you out. Let's say you only have so much food for 2 days and you're basically hiking and people see you're exhausted. Hey, do you have an apple tree? Can I get some of your apples? People are nice about that the first few days. They don't have the prepper mindset of like, no, crap's hit the fan and all these apples are for me and my family. They don't see it that way. They see it, yeah, I've got a little bit of food here. Can I just make a quick sandwich or whatever? They will help you out for the first few days. But again, you need to realize that soon people are not going to be so nice and you need to keep going. You need to press on. And taking breaks is fine. Take a break. Sit down, relax, even take your shoes and socks off for a minute. I mean, sometimes that's not even the best thing because your feet will start swelling up. But you need to protect your feet and protect yourself and take breaks and then get back at it because you have 3 days of hiking. You've got to make it home quickly because after the 3 days is when we see the panic setting in. Now, here's where I'm going to get some people kind of argue with me. This is where I am pretty firm on this. People, survivalist people, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. Survivalists are fantastic, and they could live in the woods for days and days and days. I'm talking about for most of us, we're trying to get to our castle, our place where our preps are at, trying to get to your bug out location. That's where your preps are at, where you're going to be able to survive. There's a lot of people more on the survivalist side who will say, you know what? In my get home bag, in my bag to get my bug out location, I have animal traps in there. I have a fishing pole. I have stuff for hunting, etc. I strongly disagree on this stuff. I think we should have weapons. I think that's a smart thing. But if you're looking at animal traps, fishing, hunting, all those things along the way, you're actually taking more time out of the race is on, by the way. You're taking more time out to do these things. And not even, traps shouldn't even be an option, by the way. If you ever look at traps are interesting. I'm not saying if you're not in a situation where you have bugged out and you're out in the woods and you want to set traps, by all means. But on the most part, did you know how the average trap, you set 50 traps, maybe you'll get one animal in the trap? Not to mention, if you're trying to get home or you're trying to bug out, you're not going to be taking the time to set traps, then wait around for a few hours and say, all right, let's go check them out. It doesn't work that way. Or fishing. Let's say you're like an amazing fisher person and you go out, you're a fisherman, you throw your line, oh, got my fish. You have to scale the fish, you have to fry it up, you have to make a fire. All these things come into play. And I'm going to say, even if you catch a fish right away, you're looking at a minimum of an hour. That's an hour you could have been used to try to get home. I'm all for if you see an apple tree to grab some apples and keep pushing along. But trying to like have this survivalist mentality of, oh, this is a pleasure camping trip on the way home and I'm going to stop and set traps and I'm going to go fishing and hunting. This is going to be a great time. It's not going to be a great time because you need to get back to your stuff because you may not get back to your stuff if you wait too long. You need to keep going. You need to keep pushing on because, again, anytime you spend off your trip, it's going to take you longer. And so now your 3-day trip may take 4 or 5 days. This is a race. You need to get home before the real crap hitting the fan takes place. We've seen an event now. Maybe it was some kind of EMP. Maybe it was a false flag. Maybe it was a black swan event. Whatever. Something's happened. The real crap hitting the fan has not hit yet. That's when people start getting hungry and desperate, and you have to get home before that. That race is on. So don't lose sight of your goal. Your preps are at home. Your family's at home. Your bug out location is ready for you. It has everything you need, your weapons and gear, a nice cozy bed, all those things. But here's the important part. It's your territory. And this is why it's important you see this. It's your territory. Think about this. Let's say it's 2 weeks and the crap hits the fan and you're home. And you're looking outside. You and your neighbors are all watching out for each other. And you're looking around. Who's this guy walking through? Or these couple people? Who are they? Why are they here? You're going to be in defense. Those people are strangers. And by the way, this should be the real definition of stranger danger. You know, the original one, stranger danger for kids, was a big failure on the police, by the way. Don't use that term for kids anymore. But now, crap hits at the fan, and here comes some stranger danger. These people, you don't know what their intentions are. They might only want food, but understand even people who want food will become desperate if you don't give them the food. This is a really bad thing. Every stranger is a danger in this situation. And you know that because it's your hood. It's your neighborhood you're in. But now let's look at it the other way. And now you're taking your time getting home. And now it's been 5 days, 6 days. You're still not home yet. Now who's the stranger? Now who's the danger? It's you. You are going to be looked at that way. And a point's going to come where people are nice to the point where people are not nice. And you want to get home. Well, this happens because once this happens, you're a danger. You're a threat. So you got to be quick. I estimate about 3 days. Honestly, you may have a little bit more than that, but about 3 days or a little bit more, we're going to start seeing society breaking down. We've talked about in the past, even when the power's going out in some cities, in just 24 hours, it's mayhem and chaos. And I'm talking about 3 or 4 days of trying to get home for that. But anyways, you need to keep pushing. You need to set that goal. You only have one goal at this point, by the way, and that's to get to your location, either home or bug out location, whatever it might be. And you need to be quick. No time to hunt, no time to fish, no time to cook. That's why I have freeze-dried food. The race is on, and the losers, unfortunately, will pay the ultimate price.